Hey, this is Tony here with Salt Strong, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Vibe Maverick 120 paddleboard. Now I want to tell you a little bit about the details about the board and also the pros and cons. What I found that I like about the board, and there are a couple things that I found that I don't like about the board, and I'm going to talk about them in this video. So first, just a quick overview of the details about the board. It is 12 feet long and it's 33.5 inches wide. Also, it has a weight capacity of 475 pounds, which to me is very high, especially for a paddleboard, which is awesome because you can put quite a bit of gear on here. Also, you can even put another person on here if you wanted to, if you had a kid or perhaps your dog or your spouse, whichever it may be, you can take them out on the board for a fun time on the water. Also, this board weighs 72 pounds, so it's just about the same weight as your standard sit-on-top fishing kayak of the same length and width. However, it's not as bulky and awkward as a kayak, so it's a little easier to carry. It has handles up in the front, you have one in the back, you also have one in the middle here, and then you have one on either side, so it makes it very convenient to carry this board just because you have all those different handles, so it makes it easy to carry. Also, just because it is 72 pounds, it is heavier than most of your standard fiberglass or epoxy paddle boards, so it can be a little difficult to transport, so I highly recommend using a cart. Get yourself a kayak cart or anything like that. That way you can easily transport the paddleboard from your car or vehicle to the water. Now this board also has some slide tracks on it. It has one up in the front. It has one on either side in front of you, so you can put a rod holder or a camera mount, especially this one up here in front. You can put a camera mount there. Then it has two in the back, so that can help you either attach rod holders or some tie downs. If you have a cooler back there, you can use that to tie those down, and really opens up the possibilities of customizing the board to whatever you need when you have these slide tracks on there. Also, it has bungees up in the front. It has a bungee up front and then one in the back, so if you need to stow a waterproof bag or a life jacket, you can just easily strap it down with these bungees either in the front or in the back. And also it has a dry hatch right in the middle here, right in front of you. It's not completely waterproof, but it is water resistant. Usually I get water in there when I go to open the hatch. There's usually water pooled up right here. When I go to open the hatch, water floods in there. So it's not completely waterproof, but it is water resistant. So if you have anything you don't want to get completely wet, you can put it in there. Or if you have your tools for fishing for the day, you can throw them in there as well. Pretty good wide open space to put any type of equipment in there that you need, readily accessible. So as far as what I really like about this board, there are a few things. The first thing being the price. It's only $8.99, which is well below a lot of the other boards out there, especially those higher end boards that go anywhere from $1,200 upwards to $3,000 for those fiberglass and epoxy boards that are super light, very durable. But if you just want to get out on the water and fish, I highly recommend going with something that's a little bit more budget friendly. Again, $8.99 gets you out on the water. Plus you have a paddle that comes with it, which is another thing I like about the Vibe boards and kayaks. They give you a paddle. It's like going to a car dealership and buying a car, and then they don't give you the tires. So that's one thing I really do like about the boards and the kayaks, is that they give you the paddle and they're very reasonably priced. Next up with this board specifically, it is actually pressure foam injected, which means they fill the inside of the board with a very dense foam, and it makes this board very solid. So if you drop anything on it, it doesn't make any noise. If you're out there fishing, you drop your pliers. It also has the padded surface up here, so if you drop anything on it, it doesn't make a lot of noise like a hollow kayak or a hollow paddleboard would do. Also, with it being foam injected, it doesn't flex. So as you're standing on it, you're not going to get that flexion that you do in like a hollow kayak or a hollow paddleboard. And also helps reduce the risk of it actually cracking, because when you're standing on it, if it's hollow, you're going to put a lot of pressure on it. And these boards are filled with foam. It's super solid. As you can hear there, it's like a block of wood basically. So when you're standing on it, nice and solid, and doesn't make a lot of noise if you drop something on it. Now the last thing that I really like about this board is the stability and the fishability of it. It has a very wide open surface. It's a nice wide board. It gives you a lot of stability, and also it goes very shallow. It doesn't have fins attached to it. It actually has molded kind of skegs on either side, which can get you into really skinny water, and you don't have to worry about breaking off fins or anything like that. Now lastly is what I didn't really like about the board, and it comes down to the foam injection. The biggest thing that I found is the areas where they actually injected the foam into the board. It's only plugged by a little rubber little plug, and what I had to do was go through and seal all those plugs because the board was actually getting water in it. Now because it is filled with foam, it doesn't sink, so if you do get water in it, you don't have to worry too much because it's not going to sink. But just me being me, I don't like to have any water inside the board, especially with that foam in there, because that water will sit in there, especially salt water, and it will start tearing away at that foam and break it down over time. So what I did, I opened up all the holes and I sealed them with silicone and then plugged them back up. Also, where the handles are, in the front and in the back, there's nothing sealing where the screws go in. So I had to go in and put silicone in there as well, just to completely seal the board and keep water out, and it's held up pretty good so far. So that will wrap up this review of the Vibe Maverick 120 paddleboard. Again, very great board, especially for the price. I've been very impressed with it. I actually have been using it a lot more than I have my kayak lately, just because of the ease of use. It's easy to take out, load up, get out there on the water. But one other thing I'd like to mention is that when you are fishing from a paddleboard, I highly recommend going out on calm days. It really doesn't matter what type of paddleboard you have. I've used multiple different types of boards, and when it's windy and choppy out, it's just difficult to fish. Once the wind catches you, you're pretty much gone. You're gone with the wind. So when you are paddleboard fishing, I highly recommend using it for those calm days, or if you can get into wind protected areas. If you are fishing on a windy day, that's when I typically go with my kayak, because it's a lot easier to control, it's heavier, and doesn't catch the wind as much as a very light paddleboard. So if you have any questions or comments about this review, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Also, if you have any experience using this board and you would like to share that with us, definitely do that in the comments down below. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.